Hello everyone and welcome back to the class Introduction to English Literature. Today we are the 5th of May 2020 and this is the second session on drama and Shakespeare as well. Remember we stopped in the last session with what we have in page 84 in the book, and it is displayed for you on the screen here. What is a man is a big question during Shakespeare's time because it was a time of exploration and re-evaluation of fundamental concepts like time, death. Francis Bacon has something good about death as well. It is in the book. You can refer to it. We've mentioned that in Hamlet, Hamlet is wondering what is a man if his chief good and market of his time be but to sleep and feed a beast no more. Okay? If a man only interested, or a man include man and women by the way, if a man is only interested in acquiring or sustaining life and having sleep, he is no more than an animal. Okay? And now I'm going to return back to Shakespeare himself. Shakespeare wrote 37 plays, okay? And they all were successful. His vocabulary was huge, somewhere between 17,000 and 34,000. For a newly born language, this is a humongous number of words. You cannot imagine. The estimated vocabulary of an educated person today is around 15,000 words. Today, after the language has expanded. Shakespeare does not only have influence on literature, but he also had a huge influence on the language of English formation, okay? He nearly added 3,000 words to the language, as we can see here. And this, yeah, he is responsible for adding as many as 3,000 words and phrases still commonly used to our English language today. Okay? Like knock, 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 who's there? In a pickle. Love is blind was coined by Shakespeare. Okay? Dead as a doornail. These are all words and phrases that have or owe their life in English for Shakespeare. Okay? I will enlarge the screen for you to see them. Okay? Faint hatred, lie low. Okay? Wear your heart on your sleeve. Not slipped one wink. What's done is done. You see these phrases, what is done is very famous. You use it in your daily life. Remember that Shakespeare invented these way. Come what may, okay? The game is up. That's okay for now. Let us go for our presentation. And then to the full screen. He had an amazing influence on language, as we mentioned, okay? These are other phrases. I couldn't sleep a wink. He was dead as a doornail. She's a tower of strength. They hoodwinked us, We'd better lie low for a while. I am constant as the northern star. It's all Greek to me, okay? These are some words as well. Accommodation, assassination, dexterously, dislocate, obscene, reliance, premeditate, lonely, gloomy, fretful, suspicious, hurry, okay? After a tumultuous life in London, successful life, he returned to Stratford around 1610, where he lived as a country gentleman wealthy, owned one of the largest homes in town, died in Stratford in 1616 at the age of 52. Imagine all this production was in a short span of life. He died he died while he was 52 years of age. His death was a mystery. It is rumored that he drank too much and contracted a fever, or that he died from a cerebral hemorrhage. Okay? Shakespeare, as we mentioned in the first session, was part of the Elizabethan age. He lived and wrote during the English Renaissance, which lasted for about 1485 through the 1660s. And this period is also known as the Elizabethan age, named after Queen Elizabeth, who ruled England from 1558 to 1603. This is Queen Elizabeth. During her reign means rule, time. Society celebrated poets, and here we come. Shakespeare was a poet. Remember, he wrote more than 140 sonnets, and these also are translated into Arabic by different Arab major writers and poets, including Ibrahim Jabra, the Palestinian famous writer. Elizabethans would be surprised to learn that their age would become best known for its theater, as most consider drama a less distinguished form of literature than poetry. Because there is a focus on poetry, then the Elizabethan people did not think that theater would prove so influential over time. Okay? Due to the exploration and the colonial endeavor at the time, the colonial enterprise widened the scope of knowledge. England was flourishing and London was becoming one of the largest cities in Europe. However, life was not easy for everyone. Yeah, it was also important. It is also important to note that life is easy for people who succeed. Remember, they have just come out of the ages of wars, medieval times. Catholics' experiences of religious persecution, because Britain was Protestant, okay, and it was turned into Anglican during the Henry VIII time. They became Protestant, and Catholicism was under surveillance and persecution all the time. Women were subjected to many restrictions. Most English people endured crowded living conditions and unsatisfactory diet. We'll come to the plague time. Yeah, England was not like a paradise. Yes, there was an expansion outside the walls of England, but again, inside England, the circumstances were not so promising. Rich and poor alike were defenseless against bubonic plague. In 1564, the year Shakespeare was born, nearly 1/3 of his hometown died of the plague, lost many siblings to plague, and plus a son. Siblings means brothers and sisters. Yeah, this is the way these people had fashion and clothing at the time. It's good to have a flavor of how these people worked. Shakespeare worked at the Globe Theatre. We've mentioned that he worked at Lord Chamberlain's Men and performed there, okay? Shakespeare referred to the globe as this wooden O, a term that led scholars to believe that it was circular building, okay, like O. And here is the globe, okay? if there was a flag and this flag is white, okay, it indicated that there is a play today. And you can see that there were no curtains. And most of the time, this play or the plays took place in daylight because of the lack of lights at night. There was no electricity so far. Okay? And there, the stratification of people, the classes. Yeah, we have the groundlings, where poor people stood by the stage, and these you can see them here, down there. These paid little money than wealthy, for example, the wealthy people who sat in the upper decks, upper there. Okay. I will go now to talk about the tragedy and comedy and history plays. Okay. Yes. Let me make full screen for you. Shakespeare's plays are divided into 3 types: history, comedy, and tragedy. Remember in the last session we talked about Hamlet, it's a tragedy, okay? Othello is a tragedy. Macbeth is a tragedy. I want you to know that Shakespeare did not write anything from scratch. He did not invent the characters. The characters are already there in history books. Macbeth was a story, Hamlet was a story, King Lear was a story. He took these stories from history books and he rephrased them for the audience. And this is his genius. Now people forgot about the original version of the work and only know what Shakespeare wrote. Okay? History plays, often about famous kings and leaders. He blended facts from their lives with his own imagination. Examples: Henry V and Richard III. Okay? Comedy plays. Shakespearean comedy has a happy ending and usually involves a marriage. Also, mistaken identities, like in Midsummer Night's Dream and The Merchant of Venice. Okay? Intertwining plots, clever puns. Examples: A Midsummer Night's Dream, As You Like It, Taming of the Shrew. Tragedy plays, and in fact these are the plays that made Shakespeare so famous because he exerted a lot of effort in producing them. And his wit is most displayed or explored or used in these tragedies: Romeo and Juliet, Hamlet, Macbeth, Julius Caesar. Okay? None of these tragedies, by the way, is about English. Hamlet is about Denmark, Macbeth is about Scotland, Julius Caesar about Rome. You can see how universal Shakespeare is. Okay? He was aware of what's going on around him in Europe and around the world. Othello took place in Venice, way in Italy, way from, okay? Dramatic tragedy, Shakespeare's play plot structure. Every Shakespearean play consists of 5 acts, divided into smaller scenes, okay? So a play is divided into acts. The acts are divided into scenes, which correspond to the classic plot structure studied with short stories. Now, the classic plot structure, okay, of Shakespeare, we start with Act 1, and then Act 2, and then Act 3, and then Act 4, and then Act 5. You can see I, double I, triple I's, and then IV. These are Roman numerals, you know that, yeah? Roman numerals. I stands for 1, 2 I stands for 2, 3 I stands for 3, V stands for 5, V minus I stands for 4, and then V is 5, and then V plus I 6, etc., etc. So we have these acts. In fact, Act 3, you can see that towards the Act 3 session, you have the climax where the divergence happens, whether to identify the play as a tragedy or as a comedy, okay? Act 3 of a Shakespearean play will reveal whether the play is a comedy or a tragedy. Okay, I want you I want you to remember this with me. In page 86 in the book, in this textbook that we are having with us, okay, Shakespeare's plays can be read as showing that imperfectibility has not only to be understood, but has also to be enjoyed in all its individual variety. Okay? This is what leads to the wisdom of a long line of clowns and fools, comic characters with a serious purpose. In King Lear, there are these two lines. When we are born, we cry that we are come to this great stage of fools. Okay? So many of Shakespeare's characters have become so well known that they have almost taken on a life of their own. Okay? Remember that we talked about Othello, we talked about Hamlet, we talked about Macbeth. All these names are very, very famous around the world, and they are alluded to every time and again throughout all literary and cultural productions. Now I want to go with you to the outline. Next time we are going to talk about Milton, the Restoration drama, and Dryden journalism and Scottish Enlightenment. Okay, Gibbon and the Diarist. This is all for today. Next time we're going to look at Milton and the Restoration drama, Dryden journalism, Scottish Enlightenment, Diarist, and Gibbon. And after that, we're going to talk novel. We are going to discuss novel. For now, thank you very much, and please stay with us on Moodle. So and open Moodle every time and again, so that you are updated with anything we want you to know. Thank you.